Hi, this is Jack Downs. I'm doing a video lesson for you for 317. I'm afraid I won't be in class today. Sorry about that, but I will see you soon. This video lesson is really only a partial class. I've changed the schedule a little bit, and I'm mostly just going to review the assignment that you can begin. You can, of course, maybe you're watching this actually during class time in the classroom. Or if you're watching it beforehand, you can always go to the classroom during class time and our TA will be there. You could do work on this project or some other project. Okay, so on with the show then. Let's look at the schedule on Moodle as we usually do, and then I'll review the assignment with you. Okay, let's look at the schedule. As usual, this is the schedule in Moodle. You can look at it yourself. Although soon I'll be making some more changes to it. For example, today it says today's Friday the 13th. Happy Friday the 13th. It says we're going to talk about markup basics, and in fact we are not, because I want to save that talk for when I'm really here. So instead, this is kind of going to be an abbreviated lesson. I'm going to go over the schedule. Then we're going to go over an exercise, the resume exercise. If you look in the schedule, you'll see part 1 of the resume exercise is due Monday. That's going to stay the same, as is the fact that you are to read Chapter 6, which is about links. Truth is, you could wait another class to read Chapter 6, but I suggest you get going on it anyway. It's very important stuff. Although, what's going to happen is the discussion of markup basics is going to move down to Monday, and links is actually going to start on Wednesday, and therefore, I'm going to, I guess you could say, cancel or postpone the quiz that was supposed to be Wednesday. I believe what I'm going to do is skip that week for quizzes and just do a quiz on Wednesday the following week, which will include questions on markup basics and on links and other stuff we do in the meantime too. So Chapter 6 will be important. And today, of course, it says is the video class. See the email from me. And this is the video. Otherwise, the schedule will be changing, as I said, but mostly things are going to be moved down a day. And I guess that's about it for the schedule. I hope that you are, you could be watching this in the classroom during class time. If you are, or if you need, Ebony will be there and she can help you on this lesson that we're going to do, or perhaps on the AP style exercise, which is what's actually due today, Friday the 13th. If you don't have that done, you need help, please talk to Ebony. Although, if you need to wait and ask me questions on Monday when you see me again, that'll be fine too. We'll work it out. And let's continue on to the exercise then. Okay, on to the exercise. This is the handout I would have given you, but you don't need me to do that. You can just download it from Moodle yourself. The resume exercise handout on Moodle in the normal assignments and handouts folder. Print it out yourself or just keep it handy. I've been warning you that you're going to have to write a resume. If you already had a resume, I suggested you get it out and spruce it up. And if you didn't, I suggested you start working on one. I am not an expert on resume building. I can make some suggestions, and I've made some requirements. We are building a resume that will be, hopefully, on a future overall portfolio site that you will have. So it has to be generic. It can't be, as usually resumes might be written for specific jobs or for specific interviews. This has to be kind of a generic overall resume. I would say it's kind of a cross between a resume and a CV because we want it in some detail. Now, it's going to be a little different than a resume you'd hand in though, like on paper. Well, let's look at what I'm requiring. This is, by the way, due Monday. The resume itself. On paper, like a Word file, just to show me that you've got it going and so I can take a look at it. Of course, the part 2 part, which is due a week later, which you really have the skills already to do, is to do the markup on that resume. If we look at the categories I've given you for a resume, and I suggest you should include at least 8 of these categories. You can reorganize and rework them as best fits your message. And you can actually make up new categories if there's categories that fit your experience and your life better. But it should begin with your name. This is be the place where you might put contact information. I think you could give some kind of a short description of yourself, similar perhaps to what we did on the cover letter, maybe even the same thing. However, I think that it's we definitely are going to handle the contact information differently. So name and a short description of yourself. Objective. I think you should have an objective, and it probably should be the second category. What kind of job or career or future are you looking for? Again, keep it generic. A paragraph would be good. Employment history. Now, you may have had only one job, maybe no jobs. If you have no jobs, then leave this category out. But if you've had any jobs, please list them here. Remember, even if you're applying for a job in journalism, if you show that you've had a good work history and you worked at McDonald's for 3 years and you did work study here at the college or who knows what, that stuff is all important. You want to list it in reverse chronological order. Think about, in other words, the newest job, the most current job first. So under employment history and many of these other categories, you might have a lot or several entries. Already, you can see this is starting to look like an outline. And whenever there's an outline, it looks just like HTML, right? We've got H1s, H2s, paragraphs, lists. We probably have, there's lists within these likely, right? In fact, some of these, under most of these categories, like employment history, everything under there might be a list. And you can imagine already that there's inline formatting, inline tags like B for bold to make things stand out, or strong for things that are really important, or emphasis, and others too. So with the employment history, like the position you would think would come first, and the dates, and then describe it. Depending on how you set up, it might turn out to be like a definition list, right? All right, a description list. Internships really works the same way as employment history. If you haven't had any, well, leave it off. If you are expecting to have one soon, you could put it in, as a predicted internship or expected to happen internship. Education, you certainly have some of this. Where you are here now, that's on top. Have you been to other colleges? Where did you graduate from high school? Let's leave it at high school and college. If you have any other, make sure to mention multiple majors, details about degrees, and so on. College activities or publications. You might even make these two separate things if you work on a lot of publications. Again, list them in chronological order. Think about each one might start with a bolded, what is the thing, and then dates, and then you'll go on to the description. Skills, these probably are not chronological. This might be software that you know, writing skills that you have, special things you can categorize that you've learned. So you might list introductory skills in HTML. You might have, if you've taken a design class, you might mention software like InDesign, Photoshop. Do you have photography skills? So on and so forth. And by the way, if yours is a PR job, you may have somewhat different things in here too. Or if you're going into communications more. Volunteerism and community service is an important category. Probably reverse chronological order again, similar to what we did to internships, education, and so on. Awards, honors, accomplishments. These might be academic things or sports things. Interests and hobbies, probably not chronological. Think about a list with details. There might be other categories if you have military service, for instance. Maybe religious activities, civic groups. You can come up with other categories on your own. So your name is the top, and then there's all these categories, some which might have subsets. Some of the things in them might be list-like. So that was part one, is create an on-paper resume and hand it in at the start of class Monday. Maybe just reworking the one you already have. Keep that Word document around, right? Because you're going to reuse it. If you wish, you could start on part two, which is to create an HTML5 document version of this. Of course, you have your folders: project folder, original folder, root folder, document, the document itself, what will it be called, basic mandatory structure, outline at least 2 levels of headings. Some of the elements, I want you to use some of these. I say 8 to 10. You might use others also. And you must use at least one escape character. We haven't discussed those yet, but we will. a copyright at the bottom. I'll talk to you more about this later, and also include at least one comment, and then I want you to zip the file up. So really, it's not too much different from some of the stuff you were doing with the AP style exercise. It's your own content, though. Spelling and punctuation, everything will be important. There's more levels of information, opportunities for different kinds of lists again, and we want to see more inline tags being used, and perhaps some grouping tags too. You can imagine that each of those categories could be a div, and we will discuss soon adding ID and class to divs. It's in your text. You can look ahead and see if you want to give it a try. So I guess that's about it. Again, you could work on some of this stuff during class time today. You could talk to Ebony if you have questions or problems, or just work on it some other time and bring it into class on Monday. So have a good weekend, and I'll see you later.